Welcome to lesson 4.5 of the testing stage. In this lesson, we're going to be covering our funnel optimization, which this is the crux of the entire business. This is where we are figuring out how to make heads or tails of the data that we're receiving and where our focus needs to be placed in order to get from where we are to profitability at a very high level. And up until this point, our progress so far, a lot of different things, but most recently, we've set up our email and pop up and like basic flows, and then we have our testing campaigns running. And by the end of this lesson, we're going to have a fundamental understanding of our sales funnel metrics, their meanings, and how we can improve them. And we're going to learn how to lower our cost per click, increase conversion rate, increase our average order value. And the reason that this matters is that optimizing our funnel takes us from losses or break even to $3 in revenue or profit per $1 spent, which that's really the point we're trying to get to. And this is how we build a money printing machine. And this, you will know how to quickly identify the leaks in your business and how to fix them. And before we even get into it, I want to say very clearly upfront that this is the most important skill you're going to be learning this entire business. Everything we're sharing, and it's going to be about an hour-long synopsis of the high-level, most important stuff to understand. But this is a process that took myself and the rest of the coaches and Meg thousands and thousands of hours to really fully learn these things. So we're taking thousands of hours of experience and testing and brutal trial and error and distilling it down into an hour. So it's going to be extremely densely packed. So if it feels like we're going quickly through things and you're drinking through a fire hose, it's supposed to feel like that. And this is also the stage, just testing in general, where most people get frustrated and feel like they're doing something wrong, and as they start facing the challenges that come with optimization and getting to, break even and then profitable results, that challenge is the thing that we need to lean into. When you feel that challenge and you feel like you're facing a problem, that shows that you're on the right track. And I want to really emphasize this because I've seen so many students who they put in all the effort. They've gone through all the stages up to this point. They've made all the designs, the mock-ups, they built their store, they launched the ads, and then they get the original results back. And when the results that they get back, we expect it to be like, okay, we expect there to be a lot of work to be done. That is the expectation. That is the next progression in this whole process. And I see people like take that as a bad sign because this is the first time that we're actually getting feedback. At every stage in the business up until now, it's just been us building in like a bubble. This is the first time that we're turning it into a real business by having the confidence and the courage really to go out to the market and get that feedback. So we saying this up front because it's really important to know that this stage, the success or failure or learning at this stage comes down entirely to your own ability to take feedback constructively and not as criticism, not from me or the coaches, but really from the market, and to lean into your resources, all the tools that we've laid out, and to really use this as a chance to fundamentally improve your own understanding and skill level. And that's the thing to get excited about. This is where you're building, like, this is where real entrepreneurs are made. And this is where you're going to learn by far the most. I learned so much more by testing with my own dollars and ad spend, way more than I ever did from watching any course or like consuming any content. Because now you're out there doing it. You're doing it for yourself. And we're here to help and point out like the most important levers and what we've learned from experience. But at the end of the day, it comes down to you. So in this lesson, we're going to answer what is Shopify funnel optimization, why does it matter, and then how to apply it to your business. And in general, the optimization comes down to what are the main steps of our funnel. It's cost per link click, conversion rate, average order value. And to help you with this process, we have this calculator where you're basically able to just plug in your metrics and then it spits out what you should be working on. But before we get into that, and then we're going to show like cost per link click, conversion rate, average order value, like how to improve each one of those, which it really just comes down to one of those three things. And if you feel like you're hitting a brick wall in any one of those, again, that's your opportunity for growth. That's expected. We spent tens of thousands of hours doing this every single day, like millions of reps staring at the numbers and then testing things out to see what we could do to move the dial. What we're sharing is the result of all of those tests that we've run and what's worked for us. But that is in no way a guarantee. If I haven't made this abundantly clear already, that's in no way a guarantee that what worked for us on our brands in that circumstance, in that situation, it will directly apply. So that's why what we're teaching are the fundamentals. It's the root principles that are always true. And it's the critical thinking skills that we can use to think through this problem. So then we're not dependent on following a step by step blueprint. And we don't even need us or the coaches. We're able to decide and objectively analyze the results we're receiving on our own. So before we go through that calculator and I show you like the specifics, and a really important thing or mindset shift for us to have is like, let me ask you a quick question. Like, what if you had a machine that every time you put in $100, it returned $400 back to you, 3 to 400, and it was doing that 24/7, 365 days a year? How much money would you put in? Obviously, it's a silly question. You would say, take my money, and we'd all be hanging out, chilling on a big pile of money like these guys from Breaking Bad. That's Bill Burr on the left. I love that he was randomly in this. Bill Burr and then I think Ed Sheeran in Game of Thrones were two most random but fun cameos. Anyway, so that's the same thing as asking like how big should my ad budget be? And so when we're talking about this testing phase and like we're starting to spend on ads, one, we should have already decided the amount of money that we're comfortable investing in the beginning. Then two, we should listen to the structure and approach that we've laid out to minimize our ad spend, because we're able to learn a lot from a tiny bit of ad spend. But really what we're building is this machine. And so the better question is, how much does it cost to build the machine? So let's build it. So step one, what is Shopify funnel optimization? Well, to define what a funnel is steps that a customer goes through within your business. Optimization is improving towards a desired result or outcome. So some definitions, we have funnel optimization, then Shopify. Shopify funnel optimization. So our funnel is like where we pour in traffic in the top, and we get customers out of the bottom, hopefully. And to use a easier example is like if you picture a funnel that you have like in your kitchen, pour water in the top and you get water out the bottom. And we're explaining like the high level fundamentals and framework. We're demonstrating with metaphors so that when we start looking at the metrics, it makes a lot more sense. Because I've explained the metrics and what's important to focus on so many times over and over again before finally realizing that it's useless unless we have this 10,000 foot view framework. So this is also where it's very easy to get caught in like our emotions and stuck in our head and like limiting beliefs and that sort of thing. So remember, again, back to the foundations module, we want to be as close to a robot as possible when we're evaluating our metrics. So a good funnel is one where you pour water in the top and you get all the water out the bottom. So when you increase the amount of water or traffic, you get twice as much out the bottom. That would be good. And you can spot leaks with lock in for this. This is when we say you don't need to spend a lot of money to learn a lot. It's because of this. A non-optimized funnel is one that has lots of holes. And when you pour water in the top, you get a little bit out the bottom, but you get a lot coming out these sides. And so when you double the water going in the top or you double your traffic, you're not learning anything new. You just see where the leaks are even more, but they were still the same. And you just have more money or water flowing out the sides. And this is not what we want. And by the way, you already know what a funnel is. This is not a foreign concept because you're in them every day. I know it's crazy, but every single business has a funnel, and it's their journey, the journey their customer goes on from first touch to purchase and beyond. Chris Ekman, Michael Scott. So let's see a few quick examples so we can draw on our previous experience and realize that we already know this whole funnel concept, and now we're just building one for ourselves. So grocery stores, brick and mortar stores, high ticket sales, agencies, Etsy sellers, YouTube, Shopify stores, they all have funnels. So a grocery store example funnel would be when you have a coupon offer that gets mailed out, then you walk in the door, then it's their aisle placement, where their register is, all of those things are their funnel. Brick and mortar store, like the example we've used a lot, is like when you have a billboard, then which gets you to come in the door in the first place. And then you walk in the door, again, it's the aisle placement, and then where the register is, that's the funnel. It's in the physical world, but it's the same concept. Then if you have high ticket sales or like selling, like picture Tony Robbins selling like his business mastery program, which is like a $10,000 seminar that you attend. They do an ad you schedule a call because it's a high ticket purchase. So they schedule a call to hear about it and like persuade you. It's a sales call. And then you have the call and then they close you. And that's their funnel. And they optimize at each step. Like, how well is our ad performing? How many people are we getting to show up on the call? What's the conversion rate on the call? And then agencies, they do some kind of lead magnet. Then like an example of a lead magnet would be like, if it's a Facebook agency, be like, get a free audit of your ad account. And then again, you schedule a call to review the results. with you. And then at the end of the call, it's like, hey, we can help you with this, this, and this, all your big problems. So there they evaluate each step of their funnel to get you to close. Etsy sellers, collection page, product page, fulfillment. YouTube video, it's your thumbnail, then it's the title thumbnail, then the hook, and then it's the quality of the content, and then they do an offer maybe. But so you're able to improve what's our thumbnail performance, what's our retention rate through the first 30 seconds, like our hook, what's our retention rate through the rest of the video. So you're able to turn that into a funnel. Then for Shopify stores, it's our ad to our landing page, to our cart, checkout, sale, and then our lifetime value. So the order that we optimize in is our cost per link click. So what's the cost of our traffic? And really hear this part, because this is it. This is the whole thing. This is the most simple slide, but it's the most important because this is the order that we should be turning our brain on and off. Because in the beginning, we want to turn our brain off to everything besides the cost per link click. Then once we get that down, then we move on to conversion rate. Then we move on to average order value. So if you're launching your ads and you're in the testing phase, we only care about the cost per link click. I can't tell you how many times I've seen like students have shown their ad account. They're like, I'm getting really expensive clicks, but like nobody's buying. Like I have 3 add to carts, but nobody bought yet. I'm like, okay, and I look at their cost per link click. I'm like, you're getting $5 clicks. We don't care that nobody's buying yet. You're not getting enough traffic. We need to fix that. We need to fix the top of the funnel before it's even relevant to talk about middle and bottom of funnel. So we get people in the door, we get them to buy, and then we get them to buy more. So History Tees funnel, for example, is we have the ad, then we drive people to the collection page, then the product page, the cart, and then checkout. So funnel optimization is fundamentally the process of pouring in just enough traffic that we're able to see where the leaks are and then how we can improve it. So now we know what Shopify funnel optimization is. Why does it matter? So the reason it matters is that when you have it, your products reach more customers, your ads are more effective, your brand ultimately grows, and you end up making more money. When you don't have it, your products and all the hard work and effort you put into your designs ends up fluttering around in the ether. And we never get the feedback that we need in order to improve our catalog and make products that our customers actually want. And you're also feel like you're losing money the entire time. So now to close the loop on the metaphor is that if you picture the water being money, pouring money in the top of your funnel, with an optimized funnel, we put in $100, we get $200 out the bottom. Or over time, we get 400. So, and we shoot for like a 3 to 4x ROAS. So then when you back out your other expenses like cost of goods, transaction fees, overhead, other expenses, roughly 50%, means that we're making roughly, or no, that's roughly a 20%, 25% net margin. Oh, there we go. I shouldn't have doubted myself. So, oh yeah, because that X is canceling out the one at the top. Yeah. Nice. All right. So a non-optimized funnel, unfortunately, looks like you put in $100, you get a 1.5x. So you spend 100 to make 150, or even worse, you spend 100 to make 100 back, which after that, you're not really making anything. So let's see a simple equation. If we're at a 4x ROAS and you minus out your other costs, minus your ad spend, that means you make $100 profit. But if you're at a 2x ROAS, after you take out other costs and ad spend, you're at a loss. So, and roughly a 2x ROAS is around like break even for us. It's just to demonstrate an example. So what ROAS do we want? Like what is our target? And I see people think like, I just want it to be as high as possible. The actual answer is we don't want it to be infinity because there's something called the law of diminishing returns, which means that as our ROAS improves dramatically, and this is just to show us like what our target is, what point we're trying to optimize to. Once our ROAS hits a certain point, it starts diminishing in terms of the marginal gain that we're getting. So when we're at a 2x, and this is going to get a little mathy, but this is about the most math we'll do the whole time. So at a 2x ROAS, that means that 50% of our revenue is going to ad spend because we're putting in $1, getting $2 back. So 2 over 1 or 1 over 2, 50%. When we're at a 3x, it means we're putting in $1, getting 3 back. So 1 divided by 3, 33%. 4x, putting in 1, getting $4 back, 1 over 4, 25%. So our ROAS to profit when we're at a 2x, and this is assuming 50% roughly other costs in all examples. So when you see each of these, at a 2x, we're at roughly break even. When we're at a 3x, we're at roughly 16.7. At a 4, we're at roughly 25% net margin. At a 5, we're at 30%. 6, we're at 33%. So the profit margin that we see at each one of these levels is like this. It goes from 0 to 16.7 to 25% and so on. So when you break down the incremental improvement or the marginal improvement that we're getting at each additional ROAS, it diminishes over time. Like going from a 2 to a 3, which is still just a 1x improvement on our return, is 16.7% additional net profit. Then when you go from a 3 to a 4, which again is just a 1x improvement on our ROAS, that's an 8.3% improvement. Then when you go from a 4 to a 5, that's a 5%, 5 to a 6, it's 3%. So where's the ideal range that we want to be at? It's about a 4, but between a 3 to a 4x. And so this is the point that we're trying to optimize to. And then once we hit that, then we start just increasing our ad spend to keep our ROAS around that level. So how do we apply it? So first we start by reviewing our key definitions. So some important acronyms to know that we're going to be referencing a lot are our cost per link click, our conversion rate, our average order value, our lifetime value, our ROAS, and our CPMs. So our cost per link click, and it's important that we look at the link click cost, not just CPC all. Facebook gives you both metrics. So this is the amount that we pay for each session to our site. So if we paid $100 for a billboard and 100 people came into our store, that would be a $1 cost per click. The reason that this matters is that this is the top of the funnel. This is the first metric that we have to optimize. And as you work your way down the funnel, there's less and less variables to be isolating. In the beginning, top of funnel, cost per link click, that's everything. That's, people, evaluating your brand, your niche, your designs, your mock-up, a lot of different variables. As you work your way down, it gets easier and easier. So the way that you find it is it's your ad spend divided by number of link clicks on your Facebook dashboard. And it's also on your Facebook dashboard. How do you change it? You test new ad creatives, new products, offers, ad copy, headline. There's a lot of different variables, but we'll get into what the dials are. Next is CR, which is our conversion rate. Conversion rate is the percentage of people who land on your product site, product store, and actually purchase. The reason that this matters is that you can have the best billboards in the world, but if no one buys, then they're useless. So the way that we find it is we take the total number of orders divided by our total sessions. And it's also just on our Shopify dashboard. So how do you change it? By adjusting site layout, speed, color isolation, social proof, product, which that should be top on the list, and our product copy. Next is our AOV, or average order value. So remember these three, these are the ones that are, the most important ones. Average order value, this is the average number of products or the amount spent by your typical customer. The reason this matters is that it's substantially easier to get somebody to buy more than it is to get somebody to buy a new purchase. So it's much easier for us to get somebody to go from buying one shirt to 2 shirts than it is for us to get somebody to go from 0 shirts to 1. So when we have somebody there and they're checking out or they're buying, we want to do everything we can to get them to buy more. And this is where the economics of this business, where it really works. A lot of people, my dad did this too on History Tees when he was trying to understand the business model. A lot of people do all right, so if I sell this many t-shirts, then I minus the product cost, $30 for a shirt, then minus product cost $8 or $9, then shipping is $4 or $5, then my ad cost is $15. How am I really making that much money? And it comes down to this average order value, because our goal is never to get people to buy one shirt. Our goal is to get people to buy at least 2 or more shirts. And we talk about how to do that, because when you get people to buy more than one, you only have the acquisition cost for overall. So then we're spending $15 to make 60 or 90, opposed to spending 15 to make 30. And also there's savings on the cost of goods side. We pay less when we're shipping more than one item on a per item basis. So the way that you find it is by taking your total sales divided by total number of orders. And the way you change it is just more better products, so that when somebody's landing on a site because they clicked on a product that they liked in your ad, that they should see other products that are like those around it. If they, click on a very flowery, colorful graphic design, then they land on a collection page that is, just scattered with completely unrelated, sarcastic, dark humor. It's not going to, 1, it's going to hurt conversion rate. 2, it's going to lead to the low average order value. How do you change it? More better products, free shipping incentives, frequently bought together, and product recommendations. Lifetime value, this is the total amount a customer spends with us. Why does it matter? This is where the real money is. We want to get people to buy 5, 6, 7 times. We worry about this later on. In the beginning, we just focus on our main 3 metrics: cost per link click, conversion rate, average order value. Then ROAS is our return on ad spend. So this is how much money we make for every $1 spent. So if I spent $100 on a billboard that day, and that day $200 worth of customer purchases were made, that'll be a 2 to 1 ROAS. And we talked about before, our target that we were shooting for is between a 3 to a 4. And this indicates overall how healthy and optimized our funnel is. This is like the cost per link click, conversion rate, and average order value. All three of those bundle together to make the ROAS. Then we have CPM, which CPM stands for cost per thousand impressions. And this is so cost per link click, conversion rate, average order value. This is underneath cost per link click. This ladders up into that. So cost per link click or CPM and then link click through rate equals your cost per link click. The reason we look at this separately is because this is the cost per thousand impressions of the ad. It has the largest impact on our cost per click and shows how much engagement we're getting. When we have an ad that is really resonating with people and they're getting lots of likes, comments, and shares, Facebook rewards us with lower CPMs. So now let's identify the leaks. So how do we spot the leaks? So we use those metrics. So just like Neo in the Matrix is able to see like through any fellow Matrix nerds here with me, like it's basically this kind of scene. We're running a very digital business where it's nearly impossible to, if we're just looking at like our online store, just seeing like the visual aspect, it's impossible to tell what's going on. The way that we're able to see the entire business, see behind the hood, like what's working, what's not, is through these metrics. And fortunately, I know it's overwhelming when you look at the ad account for the first time. When you look at your dashboard, that's what we're here for. That's what the calculator is designed to help, so that as you're just following along and plugging in your metrics into the tools, you'll start to pick them up for yourself. So we're going to find them in two places. Number one is on our Shopify Analytics dashboard. And here's where we see total sales, average order value, and then our online store conversion rate. And then we also see them in our Facebook ad account. And I know when you look at this, it feels overwhelming. Yeah. So the three metrics that we really care about are these three. So we're going to go in this order, and these are the targets that we're trying to hit: is 50 to 75 cent cost per link click, 2.5% conversion rate, 2.5 to 3, and $45 to $50 average order value. And whenever I look at somebody's new account, and we set up the simplified dashboards this time through, which is a big improvement, whenever I look at somebody's account and they don't have purchases yet, I'm pretty much just seeing their account like this. So take this as a snapshot in your mind when you're looking at your own account and you have all these confusing metrics. You can just hone in on this. This is all that matters in the beginning. And then as we start getting purchases, then I expand it to look at more of the full picture. Like what's the ROAS, what's performing well, that sort of thing. Then our average order value, that's up here. And this, we want it to be $45 to $50. And again, top of funnel is hardest optimized to middle to bottom. AOV is by far the easiest. Conversion rate, which we'll talk about next, slightly out of order for some reason. I don't know why I did that. Is just to keep you on your toes. That's down here. So conversion rate is, again, if we send 100 people to the store, how many of them are purchasing? And this varies a lot depending on the traffic source, the location that you're targeting. Like United States purchase optimized. This screenshot was for, I think this is History Tees. And this one, at the time, we had some international traffic. But anyway, no, this is the 0 to 7 figure store. Yeah. So it started in July. We have a lot of international traffic, which converts lower. But anyway, the point is, when you're looking at the online store conversion rate, it's really not just one number. It's three numbers broken up. And this is the beauty. This is where we can really become Neo and start seeing through everything and start identifying like where the real leaks are in our business, because it's really three different numbers and we should look at them separately. So it's the add to cart, the reach checkout, and then the sessions converted. So if we look at the funnel metrics here, so cost per link click is determined at the ad level. So the most important metric is determined just in the ad account. And that's determined in large part by like the quality of the products and the mock-up. But then when we look at the rest of the funnel, the conversion rate, the add to cart, and you should like take a screenshot or something of this slide because this is really important. So as you're trying to optimize, say you've gotten your link clicks down to like 50 cents and now you're on to the conversion rate. What you want to do is see which one of these numbers do I need to improve. And add to cart, we want it to be like roughly 6 to 8%. Reach checkout should be like 4 to 5%. Roughly like 70% of whatever your add to cart was. So if your add to cart rate was 10, then your reach checkout should be roughly 7. And then your sessions converted should be roughly 50% drop off from reach checkout. So if it was 10% add to cart, which we shoot for 6 to 8, but just for easy numbers, 10% add to cart, you want 77% reach checkout, and then 3.5% sessions converted, or like healthy benchmarks that we can shoot for. So each page impacts within the funnel, each page impacts a different one of those metrics. So the add to cart rate, that's what percentage of people landed on the site and then added to cart. How do we find what pages could be impacting add to cart rate? It's pretty straightforward. It's what pages have an add to cart button on it. It's only two. It's the collection page and the product page, or not which pages have the add to cart button on it. Which page would impact somebody's decision if they're going to add to cart or not? It's the collection page and product page. Like the collection page cannot impact the reach checkout rate. Because reach checkout is what percentage of people added to cart and then clicked on the checkout button at the bottom. That button is not on the collection page at all. So this is where 10,000 foot view, understanding this, and this is like the most important concept that I can teach anybody. Anytime I'm evaluating anybody's store, I'm running through this exact process, looking at what's their cost per link click. Then if the cost per link click is bad, then I stop there and I focus on the ads. I don't care about conversion rate or average order value. But if it's good, 50 to 75 cents, then I move on to conversion rate. And then I'm looking at, okay, I break it down like this. Every single time, every single store, it's the same. Every funnel, it's the same. You just go in logical order. Remember back to business foundations, we talked about the law of constraints. This is us applying it to your business. So we're evaluating what is the constraint in the business right now. So add to cart is the collection and product page. Then cart page is initiate checkout. And then the checkout page is the conversion rate. And then average order value is impacted by all of the pages. So step 2 is we plug the leaks, and we're going to go through this in more detail, like how we do that. So at the ad level, the fundamental goal of an ad is, number one, to get people to stop scrolling. And the way we get people to stop scrolling is to make sure that we have a high contrast background of our mockup. It should not blend in with the Facebook feed and be like white or light colors. It needs to be high contrast, something that really stands out and doesn't look artificial. We've been seeing recently more realistic mockups have been performing better than like this one, for example. But anyway, the goal of the ad is to get people to either click here, the link in the ad copy, or the shop now button at the bottom. And all the variables that impact it, refer back to the ad section of the course where I'm talking about like the concepts of like what stuff is most important to focus on. And really hear this part. You can do a different ad copy, and I recommend testing it so you learn like how big of an impact that has or doesn't have. But really, it's the ad creative. It's the presentation of your product. It's what is in the middle there, because that's what gets people to stop scrolling. And then the second step is get people to click. And the way that we give people a reason to click is primarily by showing them a product that they love. And then 2, giving some kind of urgency or scarcity or reason that they have to click now in the ad copy. And general rule of thumb for ad copy that has worked well for us is short form, where it's 3 lines, making sure that it doesn't add on the expand or like see more button, which you can see in the preview of the ad. And then doing the first line is some kind of emoji and like attention grabber that speaks to whoever your target audience is. So like yoga t-shirt sale or nature t-shirt sale or new nature or new hiking collection or 75,000 history tees sold. And then the second line should be some reason. It can either be a discount or urgency or new customer deal, some reason that they should buy right now. And then lastly is shop now, call to action button, like get yours here, and then a short link that we showed how to set up the URL redirect so that it doesn't expand and show like the full URL, because then it expands into like the see more button that we don't want. Then on the collection page, really we should be looking at it on mobile. The goal is to get people to either click one of 2 places. And so that's either on the product image or the quick add to cart button if we have it enabled. We right now don't have it enabled on our store and it's performing way better, but that's the goal, is to get people to click on the product. Then on the product page, the goal is to show people the information that they need in order to click the add to cart button. That's the fundamental goal of this page. And you can experiment with like, that's the shop pay button. You can experiment with turning that off and having what's it called? The quick checkout options. That's one lever that you can play with to improve the add to cart rate on that. And then on the cart, the only goal of this page is to get people to click the secure checkout. So we're just going through what's the goal on each page. Like there's a lot of noise. It's important that we hone in on what's the ultimate goal. We want them to click the add to cart on the product page. we want them to click the secure checkout button here. And you can use either a full cart page or a cart drawer. Then on the checkout page, our goal is to get them to click the checkout button at the very bottom. And now before we go through the troubleshooting and like how you can improve cost per link click, conversion rate, and average order value, this fun graphic illustrates a learning experience that I see a lot of students having to go through and learn the hard way. So please pay attention to this because it can save you a lot of painful trial and error just by grasping this concept. And that is when we have a non-optimized funnel, here we are as good little entrepreneurs studying our data and actively working to recognize what we don't know and identify the main constraint in the business and then work on just that. And if we're doing our job right, we take out our little blowtorch and we start to optimize our funnel. We patch up the top of funnel hole. I should jump over to the other side, but you get the point. So we patch up each one of the holes and we go around and we optimize the funnel. That's the logical, just completely objective way to do it. Much easier said than done. It's easy the steps you have to take in order to fix those pieces, but it's much harder to like just objectively move from one to the next because naturally we get distracted. We like certain parts of the funnel more than others. We feel more confident in solving one area than another, and this is where we start getting into like misleading ourselves by saying things like, no, like my conversion rate, it's fine, or like my my ads are good, my products are actually good, like I just need to fix my people just aren't buying, I need to fix that, then I'll fix my cost per click. Like things like that, just we need to throw that out completely. We need to very objectively go based off of the calculator, and not the calculator itself, but like the fundamentals in there, and just go like thinking back to the brick and mortar store. It would be insane for a business owner who has 0 people coming into the store to spend all their time rearranging the shelves and like getting new carpet and buying a new cash register. That'd be insane. There's nobody in the store. But we still end up doing that a lot of times because maybe that person was an interior designer in their previous life and that's what they're most comfortable with. So, and I'm not here to tell anybody what you should or shouldn't do. I'm just here to show what will actually get you results. And I've been that person who likes futzing around in their Shopify store, adding on a million apps, making it all pretty, tweaking the buttons, making it a little round, update it. Let's see what it looks like if I adjust the roundness to be, 20 instead of 15. Like, what about this shade? Like adjusting all the little hex colors. Let me go check the checkout page, make sure it's the exact same hex color. All those little things. I've wasted all that time. Please don't follow in my same footsteps in that way. As after going through all that, I realized this, and that is that I wasn't doing that. Instead, what I was doing is we sometimes tend to just sit there hyper fixating on one area of the funnel, and we fix the crap out of one piece. Meanwhile, our overall funnel, which is what we really care about, is just gushing water. But, we fixed that one section really well. So we want to be doing the former, not the latter. So the question is now, how do we identify what those leaks are in our own business? And then what do we do to fix them? So step 1 is getting very familiar with this page, which is our analytics dashboard in Shopify. So this page, the way you find it is from your home screen. You come down here to analytics, and here you can rearrange it, and they update this view so it looks different. Here, let's just show the new one. I don't really like this new analytics view, but since that's what you'll probably be seeing. So you're able to customize each one of these sections, but the 3 main numbers that we're looking for are, again, conversion rate, which that's actually kind of nice how they break it down like that. But then average order value and conversion rate are the 2 main ones we're looking for here. And then you can see total sales, like this past month, 215,000. Then you can see your returning customer rate, a bunch of different metrics in here. But bottom line, this is what you want to get very familiar with. In addition to that, something else to familiarize yourself with is these reports in here. So like when you click conversion rate breakdown, you're able to filter. This view is messed up. I don't know why it's not showing this stuff over here, but I spent a lot of time in here going like this. So if I ever want to analyze like what's my conversion rate by country or my conversion rate by landing page, again, it'd be really nice if this wasn't okay. Just imagine, if you will, there's an you're all smart people. You're able to find it. It's over here, but there's a way to add an extra column here. And ones that I look at a lot are like region, landing page path, and then you sort by that, or you add that variable, and then you sort by number of sessions, and then you're able to break down and see, okay, what was my conversion rate for people who landed on the homepage? What was my conversion rate for people who landed on the collection page? What's the conversion rate by device type? And these are all things that are very good to be taking a look at and diving into the metrics. Like this, anytime we had a store that we were trying to optimize, I was in here nonstop. Just click, and I didn't have like an exact rubric or something to be following. I was just clicking around, seeing what I could find. And that's where I learned a lot of the best stuff. And everything that we're talking about now came from just messing around in here and seeing what insights I could pull from the data. So get very familiar with this. And when I say get very familiar, make it more tangible. You should be running your D2C stat spreadsheet every day, running your P&L every day. And then anytime that there's an issue or something you need to optimize at one point in your funnel, dive into it by going to analytics and then clicking to see more and like experimenting with it and like seeing what it shows you based on the different views. There's a million reports in here, so we're not going to go through all of them, but at a high level, these are the most important metrics to be looking at. To first evaluate where we need to be placing our focus. Like, is it cost per link click? Is it conversion rate? Is it average order value? We have this calculator that you're able to use that helps answer the question for you. So the way you use it, and this is linked somewhere around the video in the free community, but question 1 is, do you have more than 100 designs on your store? If the answer is no, then it says stop, pause your ads, and go make 100 designs. So these are the prerequisites. And second is your campaign optimized for purchase conversions? And this is a common one. I highly recommend checking it. We don't want to be optimized for traffic or anything of the sort. We want to make sure we're sending purchase traffic, because it's entirely possible that we can get very cheap traffic but not convert at all by using the wrong optimization. Then third, is your targeting set to USA only? Which in the beginning, up to 10K in sales, it should be. And next, we enter what our cost per link click is. So once you've answered yes to all of these, you meet the requirements, then we move on to entering our metrics. So down here, say my cost per link click is $1.75. Then that would tell us, okay, we need to go optimize our lower cost per link click. And the key here is that then I don't go mess around with my Shopify store. I don't do any changes to the conversion rate or average order value. I literally just go review the checklist and see what I can do to lower my cost per link click. But then once my link click is decent, like 120, it's getting better. But once we get under the dollar mark, then it moves on to the next piece of enter our conversion rate. So let's say our conversion rate is 1.75. Shows, okay, needs improvement. And as we talked about, it breaks down into 3 different numbers. So expand this, and then we enter what's our add to cart rate. So I look at our Shopify store and enter, okay, my add to cart rate is 5.3%. And notice that it's changing down here. And this has logic built in where it prioritizes in this order. But if your conversion rate overall is good, like a 3.0, then it doesn't look at what these metrics are. It just jumps you right to the average order value. But say we're at 1.7, needs improvement. Say our add to cart rate is 5.3, so it's not good. We want this to be like 7%, which is good enough. I think 8% is where it says great. Yeah. 8. And then our reach checkout percentage, this is the one that we want it to be 70% of this. So there's 2 different versions of this. You could either do like, if this was 10%, like view this as it would be 7, or as a percentage of that. This is written in as a percentage of that number. So you would just enter what your reach checkout rate is, which is on that Shopify Analytics dashboard we were just looking at. So once this hits 70%, then if our add to cart and our reach checkout rate are both in a solid spot, then our conversion rate should be up in a good range. If it's not, then that tells us that it's just something on the checkout page that needs to be fixed. Because add to cart, back to that graphic, is the collection page, product page. Then reach checkout is the cart. And then from reach, if we have a good add to cart and a good reach checkout, but then our conversion rate is not good, then we know that it's just something on the checkout page, which, as we talked about before, is where we have by far the fewest variables that we're able to impact. Shopify, for better or for worse, gives us very few knobs we're able to turn there. It's for better. It makes our lives easier. The carts in general convert really well. So the only main things that impact there is like the shipping cost, and like the color of the checkout button, which we did in the what's it called in the Shopify setup section. So now, once we're in this stage and we're trying to optimize our funnel, we can go here to stage 4 test in funnel optimization. And what we have here is a massive, how many steps is this? 238 point checklist that you're able to go through that gives. So, step 1, understand fundamentally why we're doing funnel optimization, what it looks like, and that we want to apply the law of constraints or theory of constraints and work on just one piece at a time. Then we want to use the calculator. Ultimately, we want to learn the metrics for ourselves, so we don't even need the calculator. But in the meantime, use the calculator to help us hone our focus. And a game you can play, I recommend, is test out, like, okay, know your metrics and then guess what it's going to tell you. And then plug in the metrics, see what it spits out. And over time, if you guess a couple of times, you'll pick it up pretty quickly because the metrics don't change or the benchmarks don't change. So once you get that to spit out the answer where you need to place your focus, then you go to your checklist here and say if it's cost per link click, which I need to add the section for cost per link click. But when it's your add to cart rate, for example, you're going to go look at, well, what pages could impact my add to cart rate? Well, it'd be my collection page and my product page. So you would expand these and then you would go through each one of these steps and make sure that you've done this. And these are examples, and some of these are just general like best practices and principles for Shopify in general, or just like website optimization. But a lot of these are specific mistakes that we've seen people make that once you fix it, like a lot of these things take like 5 minutes to fix. It's just you don't know it until you know it type of thing. So a lot of these changes, they seem like very minor tweaks or like little details, but conversion rate optimization in particular is death by 1,000 cuts. It's tweaking a lot of little things in order to get the overall picture to improve. So now we're going to go through each of these step by step, starting with cost per link click, and then conversion rate, and then lastly, average order value, and how you can apply it to your own funnel. So you can bookmark this section. There's also the show notes where you can refer back to this, and anytime you're having trouble with your cost per link click or your conversion rate or your average order value, you can refer back to this, jump to the specific section and run through it. But keep in mind that, again, there's no replacing learning these principles on your own. I'm going to give lots of recommendations and mistakes that I've made, but ultimately you want to be quizzing yourself and testing your own ability to pick up these concepts so that at the end of the day, the ultimate goal is that you don't need to be referring back to this. You just start to know it intuitively, which bringing self-awareness to it will help speed up that process, but you're naturally going to start to pick it up over time anyway, just from sheer repetition. And now we're going to be seeing examples of ways that we can look at top performing sites such as Busted Tees, Wicked Clothes, Into the AM, and what we're able to learn from looking at these sites to apply to our own stores in the interest of optimizing our overall funnel. And this is a practice that I use all the time, even after spending tens of millions of dollars on over $10 million on Facebook ads, doing over 25 million in sales. I still do this to this day. It's one of the most valuable things we can do is looking at our competition and constantly being a student, because there's things that are new strategies and techniques that are changing all the time that we're able to learn from. But before we do that, using the strategy, while it works really well, it's only as useful as our ability to fundamentally understand what we need to be doing on our own site. As I can look across, different sites and go through the checklist that like we're going to do in a second. That's over 200 different steps on how to optimize your store. But if we're focusing on the wrong section, then it's ultimately going to be like useless. And I see this happen a lot where people will make a lot of effort and put in a lot of work on a section of the business that isn't where their focus really needs to be. So that's where we have the optimization calculator, the WeScale calculator we just went through. Then another piece that's equally as important is the ROAS formula. And so we're going to go through this, and then we're going to go through the checklist next while referencing other sites in addition to our template to show the process of how we can improve our overall performance. But to start things off, this ROAS formula, if I were to synthesize down like the most important skill that I've learned over the past, better part of a decade in e-commerce, it would absolutely be, without a doubt, this skill right here. And the ROAS formula, the goal of it is to understand the levers for increasing our ROAS. And we'll be doing it in a way that applies to everybody. Doesn't matter what stage you're at. At this point in the course, you should be at the testing stage, have run your mock-up test campaign and have, some spend. But even if you haven't started spending yet, this will give you a better understanding of what to look for once you do. If you've spent your first $100, this will help you analyze your winners. If you spent your first $1,000, this will help you fine-tune your funnel and find profitability. If you spent $5,000, this will help you increase your net profit by 10 to 20% at least. And if you're over $10,000 in spend, then this is going to help you scale and really ramp things up from here. And this is one of those topics that doesn't get shown on one. It requires some math and like back end, like logic and strategy to like really understand it. So like this is not one of those topics that you'll ever see in YouTube videos and stuff like that, because like content that performs well and on those platforms are catchy things. It's like, new tools and tactics and like new shiny things, like new buttons that people can press. But fundamentally, like this is the thing that has yielded me like by far the most returns, is understanding this concept right here. So if you're able to like understand this and then start to practice this and applying it to your own business, then you will have a huge advantage over the competition. And this is essentially like if you were ever in math class growing up as a kid, where the teacher does that really fun thing where they explain the really long form version and then they give you the short form and you're like, awesome, why didn't you just explain it that way to begin with? Well, in that case, the only payoff is, you get a better grade on your math quiz. Here, you make a lot more money. So I'd like to think that it's worth it. So to demonstrate this example even further, or this concept, we're going to be using an example of a student from in the community using their stats from a few months ago. And in these stats, or in the screenshots, they had done $30,000 in sales, about $12,000 in ad spend, overall ROAS at 2.3, $46 AOV, 1.55% conversion rate, 1.88 overall, 42-cent cost per link click, and they're at roughly a 7.3 net profit margin, done $2,000 in net take-home income. So these are examples of screenshots that I look at all day long, like all the time, and analyzing like what's working, what's not, and help people, reallocate their spend effectively so that they're able to, ultimately scale and get better results faster. And so you can see this is their ad account, then this is their Shopify store, and some key definitions for us to review that we're going to be referencing. We just went through the slides that included some of these, but first we have our ROAS, which is return on ad spend. So for every $1 we put in, how many dollars are we getting back? Earnings per session is for every session, and this is a new one, but for every session on the website, how much are we making? So if we send 100 sessions and we make $100, that'll be $1 earnings per session. Then next is our cost per session. So if we get 100 sessions to the site, how much do we spend on ads in order to get them? Then conversion rate. This is if we send 100 sessions, how many of them purchased? So if 5 people purchased, that'd be a 5% conversion rate. Average order value. This is if we have 100 orders and we did $5,000 in sales, you do 5,000 divided by 100, gives an average order value of $50. Then drop off percentage. This one we haven't talked about yet, but this is the percentage of people who drop off before the page loads. So if we send 100 link clicks to the site and 80 people actually end up being sessions, that's a 20% drop off. And that's very typical, like anywhere from 80 to 90% is the number that we want to see. And CPM is, and the biggest impactor on this, the drop off percentage, is the site loading speed. And we'll talk about how to judge that or gauge it in a second. Then we have our CPM, which is our cost per 1,000 impressions. Then we have our link click-through rate, and then we have our CPC, which is cost per link click. So the ROAS formula, return on ad spend formula, is at a high level pretty simple. It's our earnings per session divided by cost per session. So if we are making $2 per session and it's costing us $1 to get each session, that would be a ROAS of 2. Earnings per session, which would be that plugged in up here, is our conversion rate times our average order value. So if we send 100 people to the site and 5 people buy, and you have $50 average order value, that would be $250 earned, and then you divide by 100, so that would be $2.50 earned per session. Then our cost per session is our cost per link click divided by, or basically cost per link click, take away the drop-off rate. So cost per link click divided by 1 minus drop-off percentage. Then our CPC is essentially the CPM and the link click-through rate combined. So it would be CPM divided by CTR times 1,000. So to use an example, if our CPM, which is cost per 1,000 impressions, was 20 and our CTR was 2%, then our cost per link click was 1%, would be 1%. This is a really important thing to understand right here so if CPM is $10, link click-through rate is 1%, that would be a $1 cost per click. If CPM was $100 and our click-through rate was 10%, that would also be $1. The reason that this is really important to understand is that cost per click, it just equals your CPM times your click-through rate. It's just taking these two numbers combined. So we want CPM to be as low as possible. We want click-through rate to be as high as possible. It's not exactly like that, but it's just combining those two variables. So in this example, this student had $9.11 CPMs, 2.16% link click-through rate, conversion rate of 1.88, and his AOV is $46.41. It starts to feel like a superpower over time. Just by seeing these top-level metrics, you're able to know exactly what's going on in the business and have like X-ray vision and know exactly where they should be placing their focus. And then over time, you'll start to learn what are the steps that they can take to improve those numbers. So again, ROAS equals earnings per session divided by cost per session. So earnings per session we know is conversion rate times average order value. And then it's divided by our cost per link click, which cost per session is just cost per link click, take away the drop off. So the cost per link click formula is CPM divided by CTR times 1,000 divided by 1 minus the drop off percentage. Then ROAS, so to break down, first we're going to do the CPC. So his CPM, $9.11 is there. Then his CTR is $2.16 times 1,000. Okay, so you plug those in and you get 42-cent cost per link click. And if we go back up here and look at, on his, I don't know if you can see that or not, but on the screenshot, it's 42-cent cost per link click. It's literally just a math formula. See? So these two columns. So 42-cent cost per link click, 2.16 click-through rate, $9 CPMs. It's literally just a math formula. We take CPM and CTR, gives us 42-cent cost per link click. Then we have to factor out the drop-off rate to get the cost per session. For sake of example, I'm just keeping it easy and saying that there was 0 drop-off. That would obviously not be the case, but the way you calculate drop-off percentage roughly is you just look at the number of link clicks that you sent from Facebook, then you go into your Shopify analytics and look at the number of sessions that you had from Facebook. There's a report there that you can do it to see, how many came from Facebook versus otherwise, and that's how you calculate the drop-off percentage. And in the grand scheme of things, this is a lesser thing to keep track of. The biggest thing is this is mostly included so that we know to keep an eye on it, so that we know that we don't want the drop-off percent or the site load speed to get away from us. But 80-20 principle, if you even just look at the cost per click, you'll be well ahead of the competition. So 42-cent is cost per session. Now we're going to calculate the earnings per session, which to do that, it's 1.88 times $46.41. So that equals 87 cents earned per session. So for every session that lands on the site, they're making 87 cents. For every session, they paid 42 cents in ad spend. So that gives a ROAS of 2.07. That's just based on the Facebook traffic, but the actual is 2.13. So it's extremely close. The difference is because of Facebook reporting is always off by 5-10% normally. But to keep going, the point that this is demonstrating, this is where it gets really powerful. So first, this whole formula up here, this is just for your like understanding. Whenever I'm looking at somebody's store, I'm never ever doing this in my head. I'm never doing like 1 minus a drop off percentage. Like I'm never like what's his name from The Hangover. I mean, it was a spoof on the Rain Man movie, but like when he's counting cards and there's like all the numbers floating around his head. Alan, that's his name. I'm never doing that. This is just to demonstrate like this is the logic behind it, so that when you understand like the fundamentals, like the core principles behind it, so that when the ROAS calculator spits out like, okay, you need to work on your add to cart rate, like why that is on your own. And when you start to go through this funnel optimization process, that behind the scenes there is sound logic and reason, and that it's not just chosen by chance. Like, okay, you need to work on the initiate checkout. That this is how it's calculated. This is how everything works. So then on your own that trust in like this approach, basically, which is not even an approach. It's like just the fundamentals, just explaining like how the math works out. But so this is the long form version of it. What I actually am doing is much, much simpler. I'm literally just doing conversion rate times average order value divided by cost per click. And then to demonstrate this point, to give us some easy examples of why we focus on, let me undo this. Like, why do we focus on cost per click, then conversion rate, then average order value? Because cost per click is the dividing factor. It's the one that, we can improve conversion rate, but if our cost per click isn't good, two things. Number one, it's always going to, like, it's the denominator. It's always like the great divider. And then two, we're not really able to improve these numbers, conversion rate and average order value, until we have a substantial amount of traffic to be able to see where the leaks are. And so we have to get cost per click down for two reasons. One, just math. And two, it allows us the amount of traffic we need to be able to improve these. So to give us some examples, first example, say if we have 3% conversion rate and a $40 average order value, and then a $1 cost per link click. So that would give us a 1.2 ROAS. And this is where I see a lot of people go wrong. So be sure to really focus on this. So if these were our stats, 3% conversion rate, $40 average order value, $1 cost per link click, ask yourself, like, where would you want to place the focus? Which lever makes the most sense for us to be investing our time into? Obviously, there's a million things we could do for any one of these numbers. That's why with limited resources and time and a learning curve to get over, it's really important that we're able to hone in and decide which one needs or warrants our focus first. And then a follow-up to that is make sure we then go out and actually execute on that, like regardless of our own emotions, but that's a whole separate topic. But in this case, let's say that we improve the conversion rate. So we take the conversion rate from 3% to 4%. Well, what would that do to our overall ROAS is it would take us from a 1.2 to a 1.6. It's not bad improvement, but what if we were to do something different? Instead of putting our focus on the conversion rate, what if we were to lower our cost per link click by 50 cents? Well, that would take our ROAS from 1.2 to 3% times $40 divided by 50 cents will give us a 2.4 ROAS. So a 50 cent decrease in our cost per click would literally double the ROAS. And this is what I see so many people get hung up on, is they'll have stats kind of like this, and they'll focus on making changes to their site, thinking that they need to improve the conversion rate, wondering why people aren't buying more than one shirt, completely missing the plot that it doesn't matter until we get the cost per click down. And the other thing is that